Oh, you're recording? Hey, welcome everybody. Monday night rookie roundtable. This call is dedicated for those of us that are interested in breaking free from the money game, creating financial independence. We use real estate as a vehicle, but it's not only limited to that. On this call, we will also talk about social media. We've brought up, CPAs, people that are in the big multifamily space, LinkedIn, podcasts, so social media. I already mentioned that, but also business development as well. I think I was just sharing with the teens that most of us, when money gets tight, what do? We tighten up the expenses. If we make $100 and our expenses are $50, what do? We decrease our expenses. We think that's going to have us keep more money. But what that really does is it puts us in a place where we're in a scarce mindset, and literally we're one accident, one medical emergency away from being, completely financially ruined. So that isn't a very abundant way of thinking. So I was sharing with the teens that if you had a vehicle and you had a system where all you had to do was inject more money, right? So instead of decreasing your expenses, you 10x your expenses so that you can 10x, 7x, 8x, whatever your income. Instead of making $50, you make 400, make 500 by increasing your expenses. Wouldn't that be a great vehicle for everybody to have? Right? Your relationship with money would completely change. And so in today's market, right, and I'll just quickly share on operations side for some of our deals, what we're looking at, yes, we are cutting the fat a little bit. We are looking at where expenses, we don't need to have, where we are outsourcing to third party, where we can bring it in-house. We can have our maintenance team. We can have our people on payroll do these jobs so that we can save a little bit of money. Great. But what we're really looking at is we're looking for the places where we spend money and it offers greater returns. Where is that? So, for example, we look at marketing. How much does it cost to get a new tenant into our property? Right? For one of our deals, it happens to be $150. Every $150 turns into a tenant that averages $1,200 in profits for us. So that's 10x. Should we spend more money? Yes. The answer is yes. We're looking to spend more money so that we can make more money right now. And most people are not thinking that. Everyone's just thinking about how to cut, how to cut, how to cut. The problem with how to cut is that at some point, cutting is going to turn into your profits being lost. When I owned the restaurant, that's what I did. When money was tight, we cut back on our orders. And then we started not to have certain things on the menu. And then people came in and they're like, we want this. I'm like, oh, we don't have it this time. We cut back on some of the desserts that we had that people loved, right? Because some of it got wasted. But that also will have people not come anymore when every time they come, you don't have a product that they want. You start to lose the rating because you lose your reputation. So eventually we started cutting so thin, we had to keep cutting, because as we were cutting, profits started to come down too. Instead of focusing on where can we get more profits, get more customers, we focused on cutting down our inventory. And so we probably, every single one of us somewhere in our life, we have that same mindset, right? It just looks like a different form. It may not look exactly like that, but we'll look to cut wherever we can. Oh, we can't afford this. Then these words come out of our mouth. Can't afford it, right? Can't have it. Don't have enough money. We start to speak that into reality for us, and then we start to live it. It's a dangerous tunnel to go down. So on these calls, I want to always serve as a reminder of something different. And real estate has been that for me. So I'm passionate about teaching it. And, I've had a lot of experiences of making a lot, losing a bunch, making a whole bunch. But what I've never lost what I've always known as building relationships, regardless of what happens. And this is one of my mindsets, which you can take it or not, but people think partnerships are dangerous. You know what I think about when I do partnerships? When I go into a partnership with somebody, I tell myself immediately, if anything goes south, I'm willing to walk away and give you the entire thing. If I'm willing to do that, then I'll be in a partnership with you. So I set my own expectations in place first. And usually partnerships are sour because people want to be right and they're trying to fight for more equity or more pieces of the deal. Let's build more. Let's never lose out on relationships. Let's not never lose a relationship over money. Can that be the motto? Can that be your creed? All right, let's not lose a relationship over money. I mean, how many times does that happen within families, partners? Like that's something that just happens. So can we be, can we change a game? Can we change a paradigm? Can we change our own thinking? So every call that I do, no matter if it's Monday night or Thursday night, every call that I do, I always want to serve as a reminder that there is a different possibility. And so here, I had a call with somebody today who was, multiple. I have these calls all the time. They say, I've never written a check this big before. On some level, that is a blocking of the flow of money for you in your life. I've had people that wrote a $50,000 check to their first real estate investment with me, and the next week find the relationship of their life, and they're now in an intimate relationship. The way you release one thing and the way you do one thing can affect all the other areas of your life. So that's my opening speech for today's call. It's just what's on my mind. I always want to start the call flowing into something that I'm passionate about, that I truly believe in. And then we'll get into the call. Really, to be honest, is to give all the late people an opportunity to join in so they don't miss out on the actual topic of the night. But I like it. I like opening up and just sharing something that's real for me. It gives you guys an opportunity to know who it is that I am and who's here right now. Okay, so today's agenda, what we're going to do is we're going to bring up one of the Legends members who have excellent credentials and is such a valuable resource and person to not only myself but my entire team. And also I would just want to showcase him and have him be available to everybody else too. He is he's an architect, he's a builder, he's done all of the stuff in the building space. He's built big buildings. Okay, not very many people have built a big building. So that is something that we need to grab as much of the knowledge as we can. And if he's here and he's making himself available, don't waste it. We all want that brand new building, new development, right? Can I get this new building? Can I get the building in the middle of Brickell, Miami? Right? How does one build that or acquire that? Like, this could be the beginning of that. This conversation right here, allow yourself to see a future where, because of being on this call, meeting some of the people and hearing this conversation, that is a possibility for you in the realms of all the different dimensions of your future. Let that be a possibility. Love it. And Alma puts up this amazing background on her screen. Beautiful. Okay, so he's going to be sharing. We're going to have a conversation. I'm going to pick his brains. I'm going to open it up for some Q&A, and then we're going to play a quick 10 quiz game to see who's paying attention, and we'll keep track of leaderboard from week to week. And perhaps we'll have prizes at some point. Definitely there will be prizes at some point. And then we're going to open up for networking. That's probably one of the most valuable things of this call, is you get to break out into a room with Maybe it's a total stranger. Maybe it's somebody that you've been in the room with before. But it means there is other things to explore. If you've been in the same room with somebody constantly, it is the Zoom gods. Okay. The Zoom gods are putting you there. Trust the Zoom gods. It's not like, oh man, I'm in this room with freaking Andrea again. But there is something unsaid, something unrevealed. And you guys get to figure what that is out. You'll have 10 minutes or so, 10 to 15 minutes. And maybe we'll have 2 breakout rooms. So usually we just do 1 because these calls go on for a while. And then I don't know, maybe there will be an after party. Who knows? We'll just kind of go with the flow. But without further ado, I want to introduce Roberto BESSO. He is, I will spotlight you. Let's spotlight you, and then I will spotlight myself. All right, so let's have this conversation. We're going to begin by...
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Sorry, 1 second. My Alexa is just going off right now. Okay, there we go.
Pull the bill once in a while.
I might have said something that triggered Alexa's name. Okay, no, don't say that word. All right, so we're going to get started. And the way we're going to get started is we're going to introduce you, Roberto. Can you share with everybody your credentials, what you've done, and yeah, just tell them a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Originally born in Italy, Tuscany. Came to the United States, lived in upstate New York for, well, but most part of my life, about 30 years. 20-some years in business and design building, architectural background, civil engineering. So I've done everything from site development, land approvals, building homes, luxury estates. And now we're building high rises in Miami. So I've come a long way, 20-some years in Florida. And Alex, when we come on and just share with you a little bit about the business from the ground up, from land approvals, land development, entitlement work. And it's difficult to talk about all of it because each one of those could take, a week.
Yeah. Yeah, don't worry. I will guide you through it like I'm the biggest newbie ever, the biggest rookie ever. I'm going to ask it from this space. Also, for anybody that's in this call, I invite you to think about, if you hear something and you're unclear and you have a question, make sure you raise your hand. Don't allow something to be unclear and just let the conversation go on, because what ends up happening is when you're unclear about one thing, everything following up after that, it's going to be hard for you to understand, right? So if you're unclear about something, ask the question so that you can get that answer, so this conversation can continue. We want to offer as much value as we can to you. So Roberto, let's just start from the very beginning. I'm brand new. Okay, I'm brand new to real estate. I don't know anything, but I see these new nice buildings in Brickell, and I look at them. I'm like, how do I get into one of those? What would somebody need to do to at least begin? So let's start there. Like, how does your journey begin? How do you even go and become someone that builds a building or acquire one?
Okay, well, you're already shooting high, right? You look at the Brickell buildings, most of those are 20 to 60 story buildings. Right?
You know what? Let me take that back for a second. Let's just say I want to build a brand new home then.
There you
go.
I
want to build a brand new house.
There you go. Let's talk about the allowable use of a piece of raw land. Okay, what do you want to build on? It's up to you. And it's up to you, but you have to find this property based on the ultimate use. So if it's a home, it has to be residential. If it's commercial, for either retail or apartment buildings or condos, that has different zoning values, right? That you're allowed to use that land for. So that's called entitlement. Right? For you who don't know, entitlement is a term used for, what is the land actually allowed to be used for by zoning, by county codes, by building department, right? Zoning and planning typically makes a ruling on the use of the land. So to maximize, I call it highest and best use. That's to maximize the purpose of the land for what you want to build on, right? So how, if you can build 100 units versus 10, then the value of that property, you're going to buy it at a certain price to reflect what you're going to build on it, and the numbers have to work out forwards and backwards. I work the numbers out by percentage going in. Typically, I look at a piece of land, there should be more than 25 to 30% of the market value of the finished product over retail of your sales. Okay, so that's a good rule of thumb.
You said less than 25%.
25 to 30% maximum, right? So say a quarter of, let's say if you have a $200,000 home, you don't want to pay more than $50,000 for the lot. That's 25%.
Gotcha.
1/4. Okay. Rule applies per unit cost. So if it's multifamily, same thing applies. The end value of the unit should relate to the purchase price of the lot based on a percentage of the size of the project, obviously.
Okay, so for a house, you don't want to be 25, you want to be 25 to 30% on the land. What about for a multifamily, something bigger?
Well, again, just multiply by, if you have a fourplex. Again, if it's a $40,000 lot value you're looking for, it's no more than 4 times 40.
Okay.
It'd be 160,000 for the lot. You can put a fourplex on it.
So technically, we were looking at a deal that's 88 million, 100 million, let's say, on the finish. So we should spend 25 million on the land.
Yeah, but I wouldn't spend that. No, those numbers are a little tougher to do, okay, because there's a lot of moving the parts to a big project, okay?
So for a single family, let's just say for somebody that wants to build a new house, new investment property, you don't want to spend more than 25% to 30% for the land.
Correct, and that's simple math because of this, this facts. You can find a lot with public sewer and water, or you can find a piece of land that has none of the public works. No public water, no sewer, it's on septic, maybe on well, right? So it's relative also in that case. So I'm saying a lot with sewer and water, public sewer and water should be more than 25 to 30%.
So the land has got to be ready to build. So it's a land
Correct.
plus being ready to build, no more than 25%. Okay.
And you will pay less if the lot is on well or septic, because you got to create the septic system. Typically, they're $20,000 to $30,000 just for a septic system. So
septic system is where you got to build, you got to put a big tank underground and you poop and pee and all that stuff goes in there, right?
Field pipes and stones and whatever, and that's how the sewage gets distributed instead of going to a pipe in the street. That's a septic system.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. So there you guys got that part. All right. So how much should what does somebody need to do? What can you do with a piece of land if you decide to buy it and you got it ready to go? Is it worth more money?
Yeah, so technically, let's say commercial lot, okay? After engineering, surveying, topography, all the documentation you need to present to the city, once it's approved, it could be worth twice what the initial cost would be. Yeah, with a fraction of the cost being the engineering, civil engineering, planning, zoning, architect designs, whatever, ready, permit ready, right? So if you have a piece of property that's permit ready, let's say if you buy for $5 million, it could be worth $10 million within 6 months to a year after approvals.
Wow, that's an interesting investment play right there too.
Yes, sir.
If we just bought land that was is it called untitled? Is that what it's called?
No.
And then you entitle it what?
Raw land.
Raw land. Okay, great. So you buy raw land, it's probably a lot cheaper, and you get it permit ready. It could be worth twice as much, you're saying.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, there's one strategy right there.
What about, excuse me, what about the taxes on the, if it just sits there, you still have to pay taxes on that property? I mean, on that, no?
Okay, that's part of the lot cost. You just add it on to the cost of the lot. So it depends what area you're in, right? So for example, I'll give you one good example. One of my first deal was a strip of land, okay, with road frontage, sewer and water on the site, bought it for $220,000 at at an auction, subdivided it because we're capable of doing the work ourselves. We still have to pay somebody to do it, right? We subdivided with intention of getting 12 lots. Well, then there's other things you can do like variances to increase the density of the use of the land. Through variances, you got to prove hardship. There's other kind of things you have to prove, have a good attorney, then you can increase the number of lots. So I was able to turn a 12 lot subdivision to 14, turn $220,000 into $680,000.
Wow.
In 6 to 8 months, going through the motions of the zoning and planning with an attorney. That's through a variance. So, but that's almost three times the purchase price. But you have to be creative in that sense and have somebody like me or hire, an advisor that knows the rules and regulations and codes.
All right. Well, there's one
you
way
can
of
make
making money.
Yeah, you can make a lot of money in land. And there's people, that's all they do. They're the land dealers. They buy land and sit on it. And they sit on it for a couple, 2-3 years. Appreciation automatically goes up. When they feel like selling it, there you go. And some of them don't even go through, any kind of variance approvals, just sit on the land and wait to appreciate. And then it's like better than put it in the bank. And then we don't feel like, carrying anymore and need some money to sell a few pieces here and there. And they go buy some more.
Okay,
Actually,
interesting.
that reminds me of, that was the old fashioned way of doing things. Daddy bought the land and then later on he split it with his kids,
Well,
Yeah, that's old fashioned way, a traditional way of owning property. Yeah.
So I'll give you a little story. My dad was old school Italian, right? He went around, he grew up, learning every trade possible. Well, he learned to be a developer. Okay. And in the way he started, knocking on farms' doors and said, hey, look, if you're ever interested in selling your property, here's my number, please call me. The people said, nah, we're looking to sell our farm, we're good. You go back 6 months later. Hey, it's me again. Yeah, look, here's a turkey for you. Happy Thanksgiving. Italian school, old school. Here's a turkey for you. Enjoy it, right? No, hey, you change your mind. Hey, look, we're thinking about it. Guess what? You ended up buying the land, developed to an 86 lot subdivision, which, was a lot.
So the term subdivision, what's the term subdivision mean?
Okay, subdivision is when you get a large piece of land, you subdivide it into smaller lots, like parcels, the size that your house may be sitting on. Okay, that's one lot in a subdivision. So 86 lot is 86 homes on a new street. But when you subdivide it, you typically have to put in roads, infrastructure, sewer, water, and all that stuff, the improvements, and you got a nice building lot on public system.
Nice. Okay, so now we got purchasing land. So now that you've got it permitted, so we went through the process, we've got it permitted. How do we go about building this house, this property? What do we need?
Okay, there's basically 5 ways of making money in land, right? So you buy it, you subdivide, you make money with the approvals. You put the roads in, okay, spend money on the roads, you subdivide into lots, you sell to lots. 3, you take the lots, you build homes on it. You build townhomes, you build high-rise buildings, whatever, right? And 5, you keep it in rental. So there's 5 different ways, though I say basic ways of making money with land.
Okay, so let's say I want to build something. I want to build something on this land. All right, I don't want to just buy the land, flip the land, do all that. If I'm going to do the work, I want to build something on it. What do I need? What's the team that I need in place? Who needs to be there?
You need me as your advisor first. Of course.
Okay, great. Yes, for sure. You're going to be my advisor when we go into a build.
I'm seriously. You have to pull the right team of specialists together, engineers, surveyors. There's different type of engineers, like as you will learn already. Stormwater design, right? Everything to get the lot ready to build and pull a permit.
So the team that you're going to need in place to build, you're going to need an engineer, you said, an architect?
Yeah, no, it starts off with the site plan, right? Highest and best use for the site, meaning what is the most I can build on it? How many lots? What size of building? How many square feet? That's dictated by code, right? So you need a survey for a boundary survey. You need topography to learn, to figure out the shape of the land, how to use it, and how many lots you can subdivide it. There's other things that come into play, like wetlands, delineations, that, lands can't be, some portion of land has to be forever wild. You can't build on it. So those are the tricky things you got to determine when you look at the property. Once you look at the property, you say, okay, let's get a survey on it. Let's figure out how many lots can build it, the size of building, how many square feet. At that point, then you get the approvals on the site. You hire an architect to design your building. You get cost budget together to build the building.
Who gets the cost budget? I have to do it? Can an architect give me the cost budget?
Well, yeah, architects have a tendency of not getting this part right and cause owners big headaches. Okay, because they say, well, yeah, it's going to cost you this much, and end up always or most often cost overruns, and that's a hard thing to swallow. So if you have $80 million budget for a project and all of a sudden it costs you $100 million, you're not going to be very happy. But yes, architect do give projected cost. Okay, hard cost is usually given by a contractor, developer.
Okay.
They do a job cost analysis. Okay, and if you
what do? They take the drawings from the architect and they look at it.
They take all the drawing, the site drawings, the road system, the infrastructure, the pipe cost, the manholes, all the things that are underground. Add that to the vertical cost of the building, from footings, foundation, piles, whatever the design is, up through finishes. So when we do a complete cost for building, we take everything from below ground up to completion. And that's a pretty accurate budget.
Mm-hmm.
Once the project starts, we agree on the type of the finishes, the selections, if you want luxury, if you want medium, whatever, then we shop those prices out, by meaning we buy out the contracts with the trades and lock in numbers to start construction. So there's a buyout period, you got to lock in the contracts, and then the price at that point is pretty much fixed, as long as you don't allow too many changes. Then you have change orders, which are extra cost items, which nobody wants to hear. Nobody wants to hear this change order. It means the price went up, and you got to pay the difference.
So right now, just to be clear, we see a piece of land, we got to bring a surveyor out there, right? And then we need to get an architect.
Survey engineer, architect.
Survey engineer, and then you got the architect, and then you give all the drawings over to a developer or builder. They give you all the costs, and then what?
And you gotta make sure you have the financing to get it built.
Okay. Well, so yeah, that I think that part, as a builder, you're like, I don't know, you guys got to bring the money, right? So
yeah, it's your building. You have to bring the money.
Yeah, so we got to bring the money. How do we bring the money? Is you're going to either syndicate it, you need to get debt from the bank, different types of debt and things like that. Probably going to be some sort of shorter term debt, because you want to exit that debt. You want to use short-term debt. And this is kind of like more on my end of the expertise, is how do you get the debt? You want to get shorter term loan debt so that you can do a refinance when the property is done. You can pull out all the profits, and now your risk is very, very mitigated, right? So all that money that you put in is out. You may want to lease it up and then pull it out, but either way, you want to have somewhere around a 3-year exit, probably, right? If it's going to take you a year and a half to build it, if it's going to take whatever, you want a 3-year exit. So you want some sort of friendly debt that allows you to exit without much penalties. So the difference between your fixed debt and these are called bridge debt or private debt. Your fixed debt is going to have heavy penalties for exiting the debt early. Okay. If you go and do a $80 million, $100 million build, that penalty is going to be in the millions of dollars. So you don't want to have that. You'll rather take the higher interest rate for a shorter period of time so that you can exit. Okay. That's going to be on your debt planning side. So we'll talk about that another time, but let's go back to the builds. All right. So give us some more. what are some things to avoid? Like, what are some traps?
Well, one I gave you is make sure you have an accurate budget when you start.
Okay, how do we do that?
That's the biggest thing. The accurate budget, you have to engage, you know, with a good builder developer on your side. And if you have it, you know, if let's say we're on a team together, then I'm part of, you know, the development process and we're doing it together. Let's say, like you said, you may go after the financial part of it and I may concentrate on the building part of it. Together, we can bring that package to the table through construction loans, you know, when you say, you know, short debt or, you know, construction loans that turn into permanent, that's something that you have to look at based on interest rates allowed by the banks. You may want a construction loan that turns to permanent, so you have one closing. So there's a cost saving factor there. And then, like you say, as far as cash out refinance, that's one of the plays that you do in multifamily. You know, you can do it on a new building, except, you know, what we do, we would start, let's say we broke ground, we immediately start lease up of the building. Okay, so the build, by the time in 18 months comes around, the build is completed. We have the majority of the building pre-leased. At that point, you know, by the time you move people in, let's say it's 6 more months later, the building is stabilized, the bank will finance and refinance, you know, the project, and then you're on your way to the next phase.
Awesome. Okay, so how does somebody vet and find the builders and developers? Like, let's keep it simpler. I mean, we're talking about building buildings, you know, people might completely lose interest and be like, that's not relatable to me. But everybody can build your first single family rental, your duplex, triplex, quadplex. You can build that for not a lot of money. So how does somebody find a reputable, you know, builder? Because I think this is something that scares a lot of people, is all the horror stories of contractors, builders that they've had that have either not done the work, all those things. How do we avoid that? How do we do the right due diligence ahead of time?
That is the most difficult question you can ask.
I'm gonna ask it.
Someone out there. No, but mostly, you know, when I find new trade partners, by word of mouth, I ask for references. Somebody that's used them before. Don't just go in the blue book or the yellow pages and say, okay, put your finger out, let's use this guy. Well, if you do that, you could, but then you have to check references, background, right? Go look at the project they've built. Make sure they've done a good job. Make sure they finished on time. Make sure they didn't get sued. Make sure the owners didn't get sued. You know, and then out of maybe 2 or 3, you'll find 2 that you can have comparable prices, and then pick the best one you like by references and by price. And sometimes the price is not the determining factor. You might want to pay more for the better guy to build your house, because in the long run, it may cause you more headaches, and the guy may skip down with 100,000 of your money, and it's a bad deal then.
Yeah, I think that's that's the toughest thing. You know, I've dealt with it myself, you know,
many times.
Yeah. And I think the smaller the project, the more you're likely to, you have a higher chance of getting skipped out on. I'm not sure about that, right? I haven't built anything big. I've built, you know, single family types of stuff, build $1 million properties. That's about it. I haven't done a huge multifamily build.
Well, so like we were saying, do a thorough background check, make sure that he has references. Go look at the project they have built and cross your fingers.
How do you stay on top of somebody then? How do you stay on top of somebody?
Well, if you have a full-time job, it's kind of difficult. Okay,
Yeah.
it's good to,
and if it's out of state, what do you do? I mean,
out of state.
I mean, a lot of people are buying and doing flips like somewhere else in the country. And I've heard lots of nightmare stories. I've heard at least 10 in the last 4 months.
You really have to find somebody you can trust, eyes on, hands on site. Every day, driving the project, opening and closing the project, taking account of materials. you know, don't let a thing go by. If you don't watch them, things will happen. So
Okay.
find somebody that can, you know, be your superintendent on site, basically, eyes on. And then you know, if you have a part-time job, you're just starting, whatever, you can go on the weekends and check things out. You can butts around, do little things yourself if you're handy, but have somebody full-time. Keep an eye on.
Got it. All right. Donna's got a question. Go ahead, Donna.
Hey, Roberto.
Hey, Donna.
So I actually own a piece of land in Pennsylvania that's in a gated community. And, you know, there are restrictions on builders, like I have to use specific builders. So in terms of that, you know, is it the same kind of due diligence that you're talking about? You know, is there anything special about those kind of communities that I should be concerned about?
Well, associations are pretty thorough when they, you know, if they're going to recommend someone, they have done their due diligence, and they don't want to give you something that's going to mess you up or walk away your money. So I would say that's pretty safe to get 3 of those, you know, proposed contractors. You get 3 prices for them, and then, you know, do your own selection, whether you like them or not, what is the best fit, and go check out their work. You know, I would take the association's referrals.
Okay.
That's much easier than pulling out the yellow pages. Basically.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Anything else I should consider?
No, yeah, get your own architect, draw your own plans, hand them out to the 3 subcontractors, builders, and tell them price the same thing, apples to apples.
Oh.
And then go build.
If
Yeah.
anybody else has questions about new builds, things like that, this is a great place for you to get it. You know, I know, Roberto, you're working on a big project right now, and we're kind of looking at it together, and through our deal tank community and everything, we're trying to put the pitch together, get the numbers correct. And okay, so what are you
By the way, it's a great way. I mean, are you muted? You're muted. You're muted.
Alex is muted.
No, sorry, I was just talking to Nick.
Okay, so anyway, no, it's a great way to have, you know, a second or third set of eyes on something and then point you in the right direction, right? Adds to the evaluation, and it strengthens, you know, your presentation when you're going in for you know, a large project, large dollar amount project. I think is essential to have that feedback and not having to go in alone. How amazing is that? You know, I think that's a great idea what you're doing, putting these teams together and judge panel. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, you'll be on there one of these days when we start to have you know, these big projects going.
That's all right. I'll learn my seat.
All right, Anastasia, go ahead.
Hi, I
Hi
have
there.
a question. So my parents own 2 pieces of land in Pensacola, and I'm working on having myself added to the deed just so I can help them cash flow it and not have to keep going through them if anything needs to be signed off. But they've just been paying the taxes on it for many years. I think it's been over 30 years. Recently, I got random texts from buyers saying, hey, I want to buy your land for like 20,000. I'm like, really? How do you find if there's like any liens on the on the land, or like, I don't know, is it, I know that recently he had to pay the taxes, but he had to pay a little more than usual because I think someone might have bought the deed on auction or something, which I told him you could avoid that if you just pay that on time, but he paid it. But now, because I know that they haven't really been tending the land, I'm really curious to know, like, how can I figure out, like, okay, let's hope there's no like squatters or anything like that, or fines, or if there are, like, how do you find that within the air about the land that you own? Like what's search engine do you need to go to
Well,
get it, if there is anything?
To answer your first question, right, there's public information that you can look up taxes, okay?
Uh-huh.
To your tax assessor's office. And on there, they will tell you if there's any taxes due, right? Now,
Right.
if you are buying a property, you would do what's called a title search, right?
Uh-huh.
The title search goes in depth through the history of the property. Now, if you want to say, I got a clear title, you might want to, if you're really concerned,
Mhm.
and if there's some shady areas, you might want to pay for a title search.
Okay.
And that will clear, and that certifies the property is free and clear of any encumbrances.
And that's through a title company, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, and that's not very expensive, not
Okay.
just for bare land.
Yeah. And you can
Yeah.
mostly find this information in public records. Right. So you can go into your city appraisal website.
Mhm.
You can find those, just type in the name of the the address of the property, and all of these things will come up. This is how they get the tax liens, right? They buy these, they can find what properties are late on their taxes, and then they can go to the city and purchase a lien against the property. So you can find those very easily. I don't think you would need to go through title right away, right?
Wow.
That would probably be during the sale part, maybe, if you're selling. So
Mhm.
let's see, there's some questions I just want to get through real quick. Cheryl says, I have land around my family friend property in gorgeous area, Maine. Oh, Maine is beautiful. I love Maine.
Yeah, Maine is nice.
What do you I'm not sure what the question is. Just, I guess she just has property.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry. Hi. Yeah, I was getting myself unmuted there. Yeah, it's Otter Creek, Bar Harbor, and it's next to my family's house cottage. It has like a lot of trees right now, and I think they're asking 65 for it, 65,000. So I was thinking, is there any like profit there? Because I'm kind of, I'm
You
kind
want to sell
of
it.
maybe or build.
Okay. And
Is there any potential? Is probably what I'm asking.
in Maine. So I don't really know the location in Maine.
Yeah, I can get that. It's
Okay.
Wall Street.
We can talk about this in maybe off this call to chat about your property and what the potential is. I'm totally open to just sharing my ideas. And Roberto's got his phone number also on there for anybody to connect with, right? So you guys want to take that number down if you have questions for after too, because this might be a question that's going to take a long time, and I want to make sure we keep it sharp and educational on the high level, really. So yeah, we'll talk about that.
And
Yep.
fix the schedule.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. So
Okay.
let's see. Question. I am in New Jersey, and a lot of developers choose a bash and build, demo an old house and build a new. How do you decide whether to renovate an old home or knock down and build a new one, Roberto?
All right. What I would decide, depending on the area, right? If the area is developing up and coming, if you're, if there's other builders knocking down homes and they increase in value rapidly, right, by renovating, or what we call knockdowns in Florida, knock down and rebuild, you would do that if the area supports it, right? Again, you always never want to be the highest priced home in the neighborhood. So if the value of knocking down the old instead of renovating it and beautifying an old structure, if the structure's solid, renovate it. If it's not, you have to knock it down. You have to figure in the demolition cost. If it's a small house, it costs you 50,000. If it's a bigger house, it costs you 150,000 for demolition.
So demolition is you demo it and take it away?
Yeah, them and take it away. It could cost you, $100,000 to take a little house off the lot.
Yeah.
And if there's a foundation, then you got to dig out the existing concrete. And it depends where you are. Some areas have foundation and basement, some don't.
Yeah. So there's just a lot more cost associated with to see if it's worth it.
Right.
Yeah, you got it depends on the area, depends on the market, if that's the demand for it to do. Now, I'll tell you guys where I am in Vegas, we're looking to build more multifamily. So we're willing to pay more for people's single family houses. I don't care for the single family house that's on there. I care about the land that it's sitting on because I want to knock that down. I'll pay the 100 grand to get that out of there. And then I'll pay an extra 70 grand for their property. Right. And then we knock it down and we build 50 units there. Right. That makes a lot of sense to me. So you guys will have to look at the math and things like that. So we'll talk about that on an underwriting time of a call.
Yeah, that's because you're creative and you foresee the benefit of changing the neighborhood to a nicer street.
Mm-hmm.
And that value that the 100,000 you may spend could be 200,000 next year in increase in value.
Yeah.
So
yep.
Imagination and creativity is huge.
Hey, quick question right now. If I was to build a multifamily, 50 units, 600 square feet per unit, what do you think is the cost per unit right now? What's the cost per square feet to build?
Yeah, let me do the math in my head. Oh,
well, how will we do the math?
So it depends on the structure. Let's say in Florida, I compare what I do here, right?
Okay, let's go Florida.
Block concrete and reinforced steel, right? How many units?
50.
2 stories or multi-story? That makes a big difference. Here's the why. I'm gonna give you the why real quick. Another little secret.
Okay, this is big, guys.
The more you can fit under one roof, the more units you can fit under one roof, the least expensive the units get. If the units are spread out and short, there's more roof, right? The more you can fit under the roof, the less it costs. So you better go vertical, 50 units vertical to 50 units horizontal, single story.
Okay.
That's the beauty of multifamily high rise, okay? That's what we say, vertical. But
okay,
some zoning does not allow more than 5 stories or 6 stories. So in that sense, you can pretty much limit it.
All right, let's just say 50 units, 3 stories.
Okay, no elevators.
No elevators.
Right.
I just want to know, like, if I'm going into it now, what should I consider as, okay, maybe I'll switch my question a little bit. If I look at a property, I'm underwriting a property, I want to consider what is the replacement cost of a property. So 50 units, 3 stories, 600 square feet per bedroom or per unit. Well, what am I looking at square feet wise cost?
So your cost to build it from new, you say, or renovate it?
No, new.
Oh, new.
The replacement cost. I just want to know what replacement cost is.
Yeah, so you got to spend, it depends on the quality of the finishes, between $150 to $200 a foot.
Yeah, okay. 150 to 200 square foot.
Right, because if you're going to put gold faucets and sinks, you're going to spend $300 to $400, maybe $500 a foot.
Okay, let's just go medium. I want the
medium house, 3 stories. You're going to spend $250 a square foot.
250 a square foot.
Make it nice.
And that's if we went 3 floors.
Yeah.
Okay. If we went 10 floors, we would come down.
Yeah, if you had the same amount of unit, 10 floors would reduce somewhat. Yeah, cost per square foot would be less.
All right, so somewhere around 250 per square foot. Conservatively, in an underwriting, what will we underwrite a new build replacement cost? 250 a square foot.
That's conservative, yes. And if you were high rise, you would be in a 350, 400 mark. Because
of the elevator and the amenities and the other stuff?
Yeah, but right. in that sense, for example, like the project on the water, I would say the finishes are relative to location. So if you have a destination location on the water, per se, right? The value of the property will support a nicer unit and more amenities. The amenities is the part that costs you over, 300. You follow me? There's less amenities in a 2-3 story building. Maybe you have a pool, maybe you don't, but that's, that's a $50,000, $60,000 pool.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Alma's got
okay.
a question. Go ahead, Alma. We're gonna go for about 5 more minutes of questions here, and then we're gonna play our quick game. It's gonna be much quicker than last week, so don't worry, guys. And then we'll get into some networking. So we'll take questions now.
Okay,
I know some of. Yeah, go ahead, Alma. Just go.
No, I'm sorry. No, this is more a personal question. I want to understand his business. Is he a developer? Are you a developer, Roberto?
Yeah, so my background is architectural and civil engineer, right? I'm licensed contractor in the state of Florida. I am a builder. I can build luxury homes. I can build high-rise buildings.
Okay, so you are like you don't work with those developers. Like I see everywhere where there's building and construction happening right now, and the name is on it. It's like Smith's Developers. Just an example.
Yeah.
So are you like that? Are you good?
Yeah. So there's a couple different ways buildings are built. Either you build them because you're the owner for yourself, or you're building it for a development company that builds their portfolio, right, by adding new buildings to them. So we build buildings for investors, which are also called developers in their own sense, because they could be from whatever, San Francisco or New York City. They want to build in Florida. They hire a general contractor to build a building for them. We don't own it, right? We're on contract to build it, we're out. But if we're going to keep it, it's different. Then we are the builder developer for both, because we're the investor.
Okay, so you have your firm as a builder, and you have your team working with you.
Right, we're builder and investor. So we have two companies, BESSO Design Builders and Capital Developers.
Okay.
And Capital Developers is something that I would use if I was partners with Alex. BESSO Design Builders is the business that makes money and does the actual construction builds. So it's two different LLCs.
Oh, can you repeat that again? Can you repeat that?
Yeah, so we have two different companies. One is the building company and one is the investment company. Two different names, two different LLCs.
Okay. And you were saying that the one that makes more money is the investor part or the building part?
Yes. If
here, Roberto. So investments create passive, right? Investments is like investing into a deal. His active income, his what pays him his active income is his developer builder side, building company, which is like basically, let's say it's your W-2 job, right? And then you invest into deals. Which one makes more money? Time will tell, but one of them will give you more time. All right. So he's got two different companies, just like you as an individual. You're an investor and you have your work. One brings in cash right now. The other one is an investment.
Correct. So, but what we're able to do, right, as a building company, we can roll over our profits into the investment part. Okay. We would build a building and leverage our fees into partnership. So that brings huge value, requiring less money to build a building. It's on $80 million. Okay, so overhead and profit for a builder is 10 and 5, right? 5% overhead, 10% profit is a standard markup on a contract, right? So,
hold on, wait. I want to get to know this part. Wait, so
yeah, I'll tell you.
We build $100 million. Let's see. I hire you to build $100 million property. Right.
Yes.
So what's the profits? 10% is your profit.
So yeah. So typical markup for a contractor is 10 and 5. 5% is the overhead part that pays for your secretaries, your office, your whatever. And 10% is your profit, 5% overhead, 10% profit, right? But in the contract, there's also general conditions. So don't get confused between general conditions is the part that pays the salary to the team that drives the schedule and builds the building. Okay? General conditions. On the bottom, you'll see 5 and 10, 5% overhead, 10% profit, right? So if I don't touch that 10%, I can use it as an investment, roll it into a deal that we're doing together. Benefit the deal.
So it's going to cost about $100 million building. I'm going to be paying you $15 million plus all the other payroll things that I need to pay.
Costs, yeah, it's all
Costs.
costs,
All my other costs.
operations, all that stuff, yeah.
Wow, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, well, think about it, a high-rise building, 20-story building, 200, 300 units, it's going to take a team of 7 guys on site, specialized in each part of the construction.
Yeah, plus a whole group of people working.
Plus a bunch of people in the office.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
so,
I mean, I love, I know we're not talking specifically on now building. I love to know businesses and how it works and how to make money behind it that way. I become a better negotiator knowing people's businesses too. So that's
Right.
that's my thing. When I pick your brains, I'm also picking how it's running in the back. Now, not everybody will share things like that. So I'm glad that you're sharing, from that end.
Yeah.
But Lene's got a question, then Donna, and then we're going to do a little quiz on who's paying attention to this call.
Go ahead.
Yes, I have looking at property up in Jacksonville. It's a story and a half, and the foundation under it is brick corners. It needs to have a new foundation put under. What do you suggest and who to get a hold of to do that?
How old is the building?
Oh my God.
Too old.
Too old.
100 years old.
I just started looking at it. So I'd probably say built in probably the 50s, I would say 50s.
Yeah, I'll tell you, when you're doing stuff like that, if you're unsure, anybody on this call, okay, take pictures, text it to me. Here's my phone number. Text it to me and say, hey, what do you think?
Okay, I've got pictures.
It's that simple. I mean, I can tell. Now, if it's a multi-story building, typically as GCs, we do inspections. Right? We'll inspect the building for structural, stability or whatnot. Right? And we'll tell you if the building is structurally sound or not. And if you have to tear it down, we'll let you know. But if it's a one-story building, if it's a 1 or 2 story building and it's wood frame, for example, you can jack the building up and put a foundation underneath it. But
it has a chimney that's up against it, but there's no fireplace in them. They took it out.
Yeah, let me ask you this. Have you ever seen a house going down the street on wheels?
Yes.
Complete homes, 3,000, 4,000 square feet, historical stuff. I seen it go down the street, okay? With chimneys. So it can be done. So if it's worth it, you keep it. If it's not, again, tear down and rebuild it.
Okay.
Yeah,
I saw a crazy historical old building in Florida. I saw the process. It was like by my house. They removed all the bottom and they put this thing, they like lifted it up and then they were moving it to a different part of the property.
It's amazing the things they can do, man. I love that.
I mean,
stuff.
is that even worth it though? I mean, like to do all that, than to build a new thing.
Sometime if in historical preservations, if you want to build a house on the lot and that takes part of it, and you come up with a different site, you move down the street and do what you got to do, but you can't tear down a home. Sometimes they protect it, right? Historical society.
Yeah.
Protects that stuff.
Okay, cool. Donna, go ahead.
Hey, again. So earlier you were talking about hiring an architect. So what kind of things do you have to consider when hiring an architect to lay the plans?
Okay, what type of product? A home or
Let's say single family home for starters.
Single family home, okay. So I've done a lot of that design. I used to have a couple dozen builders. I used to design their new spring home, fall homes, whatever. I always tell them, go in magazines and pick out the style of home you like, a floor plan or the exterior look that you like, and bring that to an architect. Say, draw me something like with these features. I need 3 bedroom, give me a nice layout. That's the simplest way. Don't have them come out, create this stuff from scratch. They're gonna cost you a gazillion dollars. And then they'll detail the hell out of it and you won't even use those details. If you're a good builder, you don't have to spend all that money on plans. Simple plan, floor plans, elevations, some typical cross sections, how to build the building, that's it. Don't have them detail how blocks go together. The mason knows how to put blocks together. I mean,
And then what does she just Google an architect and just look at the reviews or what?
Well, yeah, same thing. I guess you have to, check out the reputation. If they've done a job for a friend, call them up. If you can get some advice from others that used it, that if not, yeah, Google it. Architect near me, and then get 2 or 3 prices, and check the references. See what the comments are. That's
Gotcha.
it.
Yeah,
Right, thank you.
we always do that. Every piece of work that we do, we get 3 quotes and then we check them out. And then we also feel it out because, some people you just feel like, yeah, I want to work with these guys. This is one group that we've got to do some renovations for us. And he called us back multiple times and we're like, wow, I like this guy. He's like, we'll even offer you a 10-year warranty on that. I'm like, okay. Like the other guys don't even seem to want our business. So here you go.
Yeah,
Price is similar. Winning overtime.
Right. If nothing else, it keeps them honest. And then once you develop a good relationship with that architect or engineer, then you negotiate the price from for your next projects.
All
Say,
right.
look, this is the budget I have. Can you work with me? Easy.
Beautiful. Okay, cool. So Roberto is available to connect. I know he loves making new friends and meeting new people. So there's his number right there. Nick, are you ready with the quiz? Yeah. Okay, so Nick's prepared a very quick 10-question quiz to see who's paying attention. We're gonna keep a scoreboard going from this call onwards. I know we played a game last week, but it was different. And so moving forward, the winner of that one which is Allie, she will win some she will win something and we will send it to her. She's gonna win this mastery program that I'm creating. Okay. Let me take us off of the spotlights. Hey Roberto, thank you so much, man. Thank you for your time and sharing some of your wisdom. I know I just put you on the spot yesterday.
That's all right. No, you're well. Yeah, yes. Hey, can you do something? Yes, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's improvise. No, and I'm serious. Anybody that needs any help with anything, if you're looking at something you're not sure, take a video, take a picture, walk me through it, and I'll help you out any way I can.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. You're so generous. Appreciate that.
Well,
Thank you, Roberto.
make sure to keep you safe.
Yeah. Most of the times when we get into trouble, it's because we didn't consider all the different outs. Right. And the reason why we didn't consider all the outs is because we don't know all the outs. So for me, it's very simple. If I go into deals, I don't need to know how to do it right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, Roberto, I got a deal. I'm going to give you some equity on the general partnership side. This is your job. You don't have to do anything else. And this will be your share. If you want to raise some capital, by all means, go ahead. Right. But I want you to handle all of this stuff. Right. So I don't need to make the mistakes with it. When the deal is going down, he's going to supervise and look at the GCs and what they're doing and making sure everybody's on track. I can passively learn now. I will learn because I'm in the deal. This is my deal. I will learn from just having conversations with Roberto when this is going on. See, that's what's really, really important. It mitigates a lot of risk. It mitigates my risk. It mitigates investors' risk. It mitigates the bank's risk. Actually, the bank will probably want me to have somebody like this to even give me a loan. right? So that's the shortcut, everybody. I know I put this out there for you guys to kind of learn stuff, but this does not mean you take it and go and try and do it yourself. So Donna, I know you got a deal, you got a property that you're going to develop or build on. It really doesn't mean that you now got some information and go do it yourself and possibly crash and burn on your own. Like, mitigate that, right? Like, mitigate it. Either you just start to, hey, Roberto, I'll pay you as a consultant, even if that's the case, right? You don't need to bring somebody exactly on the deal. I'll pay you as a consultant for the duration of the build on this deal. You open to that, Roberto? If somebody pays you as a consultant?
Yeah, it's just like the TV shows. do it yourself through the eyes of a construction manager. There you go.
No, it makes sense. You just have to call the experts in the field.
Just get
It
advice.
makes sense, but so little people do it. It's so funny.
Oh, no, you gotta have the experts.
Yeah, you gotta have the expert. I want an expert on my team so that I can sleep well at night. Sleeping well at night is the most important thing.
And second, like you said, the goal is if you ever get to shadow me on building a building, you will learn a lot. And next time you can do it yourself. And next time you can do it yourself.
Yeah, and I still won't do it myself because I just don't like doing that many things. Okay, so let's see here. We're gonna run right into the game real quick, and then we're gonna do a breakout for you guys to network. Okay, so Nick,
Great.
let's get us started. Thank you, Roberto. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Let's see who's
Thank
paying
you.
attention. And
let's do it.
Tria is in the chat.
So click on the chat.
Click on the chat.
Oh, and I'm gonna stop the recording. You're recording.
Yeah. By recording.